Hello and welcome to stage 2 of the DRS. We're on Three Sisters loop, finishing at the top of the radio tower climb, so it'll only be two of the sisters. Just take a quick look at last week's standings in this B+ division that we're going to be following today. It'll be quite quick, so race is starting soon. So we had Dirty Sprock Stars in first, TZP Beach in second, and Dirty Pips in third. Just get you onto the individual ride stands before we quickly go over the course. So we had Jason Robinson from the Sprock Stars, Ali Loney as well from the Sprock Stars taking first and second, Ben Abad from TZP Beta taking third, and Dave Husband from the Sprock Stars in fourth. It's a real domination from the Sprock Stars there. You can see their fourth rider, Mayank, down in ninth. So a really good performance. TZP had a lot of riders, 3 in the top 10 as well. So it seems to be close between those two teams and a little bit of a gap to those behind. Looking at the course for today, we're going to start off very quickly with the forward KOM. It's a very sharp, roughly minute 45 climb in this division, maybe 1 minute 50. We're straight into it before we have a little bit of recovery as we come on the downhill. Just a long flash downhill. Some gaps may be closed. You've got until the kind of bridge section where it dips back down, which would be the start of the reverse KOM, to get back on, otherwise it'll start to fall apart. Got a long little grinding downhill before we start to get into the epic KOM in the forward direction. See, the segments are going to be for the Swift KOM and then the epic KOM. We've got FTS and FAL available for both, and then the radio tower climb, which will be separate, will be the kind of finishing and decider for the finish points. You can see all the points on the right hand side of your screen there. We'll come back to them later for those who are interested. Now we're just going to take a look at the live stream and get to it. So we've got 30 seconds to go. Should be quite interesting this week, starting off with such a brutal climb. It's going to be really important for those who have warmed up. See, the Sprock Stars are in their dirt kit, and TZP, I believe, are in the camo kit. You can see to the left. I expect it'll be quite quick off the start, and then might settle in a little bit before the climb, but we'll only have about a minute, 2 minutes max before we get into the climb itself. So it'll be very brutal. And people are going to be a little bit fatigued hitting the start of the climb. It'll be interesting to see who can push on. Being a long 20-minute plus climb at the end, we'll see quite a few of the lighter riders doing well today, which will be good to kind of mix it up a bit. It's not just going to be a sprinter's paradise, even though the first segment is probably going to tend a little bit towards sprinters. It's a very punchy segment, only a minute and a half, so 2 minutes long. So sprinters generally have a bit higher 1 minute power than other riders, although the fitter riders will have a bit of an advantage as well in that, especially the lighter riders who are able to go over the standard cat limits. You see, it's been a fairly gentle start. I thought some people might try and push out a little bit. Probably a possible opportunity for a team to really attack together as we hit the segment. Just get a few seconds head start, but equally because there is FTS available, it's going to be in your benefit to start towards the back. We'll just get the segment points up for you quickly now. So you see, FTS is going to be the kind of main focus for people through here. It's going to be a very tight bunch starting off with, and everyone's in together. So FTS and first cross line will generally be the same people. See a couple of riders. See Ali from Dirty Sprockets just heading towards the back, giving themselves a bit of room before the segment starts. See, a lot of riders tend to do this for FTS segments. It's more applicable in sprints where you want as many people as possible to fly through over a couple of seconds. But over a climb it still has its benefits. There's a lot of people when they get to the top of the climb, they're just going to aim to pip the person ahead. But if you're starting 10, 20, sometimes even 30 metres back, as we see with these dirt riders, then it's in their benefit that they can just sit just behind you as they cross the line and they'll still have beaten you on time. As you start the first section, you'll want to kick quite hard here, as you see people pushing 6 immediately. Because you're carrying these 30 kilometres an hour, as you can see up ahead on the top bar, then you get a bit of an advantage early. You see one of the riders from TZP up the road. I think this is Ben, who we mentioned earlier, came third on overall points last week. Just pushing very hard here. 8 watts per kilo is very unsustainable, but he is getting a nice gap over the group. It'll just be interesting to see how much he blows up afterwards. There's no way you can hold that much all the way up. He's taking a real big 5-second gaps over the group so far. He's got one of his teammates, Arias, also following hard. both of them have got a nice gap over the group. So interesting, anyone's going to try and jump across and close. We see Tourmalet from TBR, normally a very aggressive rider under the lightweight limit, pushing up. Now we see people start to chase hard as a few front riders have dropped down, but it's an absolute monstrous time for them. They've dropped down a little bit, still 7.8 plus is normally way above what any beast would be doing. You see some of the Sprock stars starting to chase it down. We've got Dave H and Jason working together, or even a bit further behind, some of the coalition riders from Evo coming with them. They're probably not going to make it all the way back. They can take Arias maybe, but B from Evo is probably just going to keep away unless Jason can keep pushing hard. He is chasing down and he started very towards the back. And this is where that advantage is going to come into play on FTS times. Is he going to quite make it on? You can see him pushing hard as B takes first across the line. Jason's going to get second, but what's going to happen in FTS? It's where the points count. So we see B from Evo just pipped Jason there. An absolutely incredible time. Rarely see anyone below 140s in Cat B. It's absolutely bonkers. You see Sprock Stars taking 4th, 5th, 6th on FTS. Very strong for them. TZP Arias getting 3rd. Plenty of points there for them as well. I've got some of the Evo Coalition guys putting in a really big performance just a little bit further down. So if you have a look on the minimap, you can see the group is very spread out here. We've got Evo and Jason, B from Evo and Jason just up front, just starting to relax now. There's no reason for them to push the pace. It's a long way to go to the climb, and you need a group of 4 or 5, absolute minimum. And we've got Oyvind and Arias just going to jump on with them now. And this little chase group, a couple of Spock Stars, Dave and Ali together down the road. Staley from WFCC jumping on with them, and Lars from Eat Dirt, assuming he'll be Dirty Bibs, doing really well there, just forming this little group. Just take a wider view, you can see most of the top half of the field are just coming back together now, and this chase group will bring in the front riders. There's no real reason for the front riders to push miles ahead. There's a lot of benefit on this forward Epic KOM. For the being in the draft, there's flatter sections. It's not as steep as the reverse, where it's just punch after punch after punch on steeper sections, followed by hairpins. So this group will form together, and this is going to be probably the lead group for the rest of the race. We're going to see if Roxas and then Powell from Evo can jump back on. It's very important for them here, as there's a big gap down to the rest of the field. Mike Holden from Sprockets, a couple of the WFCC riders with him too. Some dirty bits. There's a lot of riders lost out there. Dave Higgins, normally a very good sprinter, all the way down from TBR. He'll be frustrated, as that's normally a climb that probably suit his power profile. We've got a couple more of the WMZ riders back there. So this front group's looking around 30 riders. We've lost a couple more of the back. Roxas didn't, and Powell didn't quite make it on. Although Roxas almost getting there. Bond seems to have dropped off from Evo. So they've got quite a few points in that segment. They have lost a lot of riders early on, leaving them just 2, I believe. Maybe just 1 rider, I think, in the front group. Which is going to hurt them. So now things should just settle down a little bit. Riders know that they've got a tough climb coming up. We're looking about 27, 28 minutes, I believe, in total, if not more. So it's going to be a very long grind for them, so they're just going to get as much recovery as possible through this section, reassess where they are, what their points are like. And we might see a couple of attacks early up the road, but it's unlikely. We've got such a progressive climb that people are just going to wait and use the advantage of having those lower percentages. Might be interesting seeing some of the bike choices. Seeing quite a few Trons, but also a couple of lighter frames about. I'm not sure I can spot some of the milestones on the lightest wheel. So people are kind of going to be looking at this thinking, we've got 2 climbs as a segment, there's no sprint segments. Should you go for as light as possible? And on these courses, it's a difficult choice. If it's a pure climb like the Alps, you're definitely going to be in favour of the lighter wheel. There's no real discussion on it. But on any course with flats, and especially on a punchy flat section, you saw on the Zwift KOM there, we're still up to 30 kilometres now for a lot of it, especially the top guys. There's still plenty of draft to be had then, and you're going to get more benefit from that, from having an aero bike. It's also significant when you're going at higher speeds, that the aero effect's a bit more notable than you'd possibly notice in some of the testing charts, and the lightweight effect has less impact. So remember that the calculation for how much a lightweight bike benefits you is in real life. So if you're a heavy 90 kilo rider, it's going to have less impact, saving that 400 grams than it would do for a 50 kilo rider. So you might see some of the lightweight riders. We've got a couple of them today. who are under 60 kilos, so benefit from the pure wattage threshold for each category. Just taking advantage of that. See Jason just punching off the front there. Not really sure what the purpose of that move was, and he's just trying to excite the field, see if anyone will come along with him. I'm sure he'll be very aware that some light riders who are capable of doing 4.4 up to 4.6 for 20 minutes. So he might just try and get away and just see if he can put an early gap in. The ideal situation for him though is letting someone else do that work. Not many riders will be wanting to do a 4-minute effort, which is probably what it'll take to stay away from this group. And then doing the climb, they'll want to have someone else doing 4 watts per kilo on the front, and they can just sit in at 3.5 or so. If not, well, I mean, if they're doing 4, they can probably sit in at 2.5. See them just slowing up a bit. They've got a little gap on the group on the downhill, but nothing serious is happening here. Let's take a look at some of the chase groups behind. There's a couple of individual rides, which is a very tough place to be. 2 of the coalition guys, Evo, working together. Sorry, I keep calling them Evo, they're not Evo. Don't know why I'm saying this. So used to racing Evo in their purple kit. There's some of the Canyon Coalition riders, Powell and Bond there, getting together, and hopefully they'll take little turns on the front trying to chase down. Got another group coming in behind them, about 6-7 riders. Oh, up to 8 I think. With another one of their teammates, some of the Dirty Bibs on the sprockets with them. WMZ rider, one of the TZP as well. So with 3 of the Canyon riders there, hopefully they'll get a little bit of work on and see if they can chase down that front group. We've also got another group behind them even bigger. If they can all conjoin, there's a chance they might make it back, because no one in this lead group wants to work. They all know that they've got this gap on them, and they're coming into a tough climb. So it's unlikely they're going to start pushing the pace at the front to keep it separate. So at the moment it looks like we've got Sprock Stars in first place just from the first segment, with TZP in second, first guy Ben Abad taking most of the points, and then one of his teammates in third, but Sprock Stars then with taking out another 3 places in the top 10 at least, which will really add up, especially with the point structure of the segments. In this series it's all about having multiple riders doing well. It's not about just having 1 or 2 really good riders. It's a real team-based focus. So again, to come through this dirt section, there are opportunities to try and push away if people want to, but it would really take a full team going, like 2-3 riders absolute minimum. And at that point, you know, if you see that going on ahead of you, you're going to work, you're going to chase it back down, and so that team's likely just to waste some effort. It could be interesting on the lighter riders, you know, the people capable of about 4.5 plus watts per kilo for 20 minutes. This might be a good opportunity for them to get a bit of a gap. The likes of Tom Nabe from TBR, Ben Abad, as we saw, both capable of over 4.5 for 20 minutes. They might have the opportunity to get away at about 4 watts per kilo if they can get a big jump on. We saw with Ben up that climb, he's definitely got the potential to put in a big jump. But realistically, people are just going to want to sit in. You see it's starting to stretch out a little bit. One of the TZP guys and Jason again pushing away at the front. Just trying to keep things interesting. Dirt section is the place to do it. The speeds are much lower. See 33 kilometers now, which means it's harder for them to draft behind. They're not going to have this huge benefit if you attack through here. And you see Jason just slowing up once he's back into the draftable section. One other place you can do is when you make this transition here onto the tarmac, you can kick again and try and get that jump. The speeds are going to come up, but the quicker you can get your speed up, the bigger advantage you're going to have. And lots of people just maintain the same as they cross over surfaces. Those changing surfaces are really important to try and make gaps appear. So quite a few of the WMZ riders here. 2 different teams there. We've got their old Bumblebee style kit on the left hand side here, and their newer kit with that yellow and orange on the right. So people are just chilling out towards the front now. It's not too long to go to the climb. So a little bit longer section through the underwater tunnels where it's totally flat, not much is going to happen. And then we'll be coming out into the climb itself. in terms of favourites at the climb, what I think might happen, it is going to favour the lightweight riders, especially the ladder section, the radio tower. But it's very interesting compared to the other direction. This climb is very gradual to begin with. You're looking at 2 to 5% for the majority. There's little bumps and harsher sections, but it's not enough to necessarily drop some of the kind of top riders unless one of the lightweights just goes all out the entire way or tries to kick really hard at the front and settle onto pace. I suspect we'll have quite a significant front group, at least 5 to 10 riders, as we get to the end of the segment. We've got a long last little punch up the segment which might drop a few people, but there is recovery through the bumps as we're near the top where you're just going up and down constantly, where the kind of riders can sit in a little bit, get some recovery before that punch. But it's still going to be the radio tower that's going to really hurt people. About 13.7% average for 1.2 or so kilometres. That's where the damage is going to happen, and people are going to absolutely blast away there. So what will be interesting is how people bounce if these lighter riders try and go for breakaway. See Arias from TZR just pushing a little, TZP, sorry, just pushing away, making a little gap in the climb, but he's just settling back in now. He doesn't want to do any work. It's left turn coming up not long before we start the climb. Yeah. Want to see if people do attack and really push this 20-minute, well, just over 20-minute epic segment, or if they hold on a bit, just stay in the group, try and get a couple of points there and really focus on those finishing points. So we've got these switchbacks before we go over the bridge. And the segment, I believe, starts just on the right hand side. I think you can just about see the banner for it. It's on for that first right turn. So we'll see people just, oh no, it's just before it, my mistake. So we'll see people dropping towards the back a little bit, even here. Just preparing and just seeing if they can get that little bit of advantage. See one of the Philippines, teams of Philippine riders doing it. But here we go, a couple of them pushing immediately off the front at 6 watts per kilo, if not higher. See Jason Robinson just following in the wheel again. Because we're still, well, we were still at semi-high kilometers now, there is draft. But as we come around the first bend, it's pretty much totally gone now, and it's just going to be a grind all the way up. So it looks like teams of Philippines have decided they're going to push really hard as a group here, try and drop people while it is so steep that you can't draft. Once we get onto the bridge itself, it gets back to being a draftable section. Just put the segment details back up for you, so you can just have a look. See, we've come over the bridge and we've got a long bend before we go into some more switchbacks. Go through a tunnel in the mountain, then round the edge, and through all that section is largely draftable, and there are some flatter bits in between. So if you're going to make a move, especially for some of the lighter riders, once they get onto flats, if there's a heavier rider with you, then they're just going to be able to hold on comfortably and you're not going to get away. But if you can make the move early here, you can take full advantage of having a higher 20-minute watts per kilo. And so it seems that's what TZP have gone with their lightweight setups, all trying to push hard here. So you see 2 of the Sprock Stars have gone with them, but it's pretty much a TZP dominated section here with 4 of their riders in the top 5 up the road. But one of the WMZ riders are Rocket, and then Ali from the Sprock Stars as well, just moving his way up as we start to flatten out a little bit over this lip. And we've got TZP, Ben Abad up the road, and then Jose Junior to Jesus all the way at the front. He's settled down to a steady pace, a manageable pace. So we're looking at around 5 watts per kilo probably on some of these steep sections, and then most of the riders will come significantly under on the flatter sections. See him around 3.5-ish here. Maybe some of the lightweights will be a little bit higher as they can get away with it. We see the likes of Justin Fabian, etc. and Tom Nabe just behind us doing a little bit above. I think Nabe can probably hold it, but Justin needs to just chill out a little bit through here, let someone else try and pull it back. That 7-second gap is looking very significant up the road now to the 2 riders. And now we've got these 2 from other teams bringing it back. All the other TZP riders just sitting on their tail holding on. Finally, you'll notice that there are 5 TZP riders up here. So the first 4 in terms of total points are the ones who will count towards their team points total. However, that 5th rider can still knock down other team points total by taking away available points from them. And so it'll come massively in their benefit if they can get some big points with those 5 up the KOM. See, this little group has just formed chasing down. We've lost a few rides, about 10 or so. We've still got 20 in this lead group. So Yates and WMZ Bazookas just trying to hold on here. Because it's 3% for a little while, you can see ahead with the other pylon where it steepens up. He wants to jump across early, it's exactly as he's doing. Really well done to him. He's just jumping back on the group and settling back down again. Absolutely textbook there. So he knows once he's in this group he can chill out a lot more. We're still around 30 kilometers now. There's not so much draft that you don't have to worry at all, but there is enough to help. My interesting thing is I believe that's... I'm not sure, is it Ali? Who's on disc wheels apparently. One thing to be aware of is while you sometimes see this, or is it Dave H? I believe it's Dave Husband, who looks to be on a different wheel set. So while you can kind of look at the wheels the riders are on and the bikes, one of the kind of glitches Zwift has is that when you change in the pens, including your kit, sometimes it doesn't actually show up on the race. So you might see a rider turning up on a mountain bike to a normal race, but there's a very good chance they're not actually on that. So you don't want to pay too much attention and base things on the bike that they show up with in the pen, or what shows up. It can be useful just to keep an eye on it, and if it matches the performance then sure, but you can't guarantee it. I'd be very surprised if Dave Husband was actually riding a disc wheel up this climb. So as we see up the road, Ben Abad seems to have had a drop. I'm not really sure what's going on then. I don't think he's going to be particularly happy about that. Wondering if it's... oh, this is a bit concerning. It's very close to the 20-minute timer there. Very unfortunate time to have a dropout. As he sees, yeah, it looks like he's just had a total dropout. He's punching up straight away as soon as he's got connected again. That's going to be very frustrating as they had about a 15-17 second gap over the group, and now he's down to 6-7 seconds. He's going to get back on and push up hard. And while, you know, it's a semi-rest, I think the panic that's going to set in, you'll see his heart rate spiked up then. It's already dropping back down. He's done a lot of work to get back on, and that's going to hurt him. Ideally, he's going to try and get on his teammate's wheel. See, his teammate just seems to have slowed down a little bit, 6%. Earlier, he'd be punching at 5 watts per kilo. It looks like his teammate's just slowed down, just letting him get back on his wheel, and they're going to work together up the rest of the climb. So we should see Jesus just pushing back on now. See if he jumps on. It's not doing too much. I wonder if they're both really struggling now. They have gone very hard early, taking a lot of points on the forward KOM. See Ali from the Sprockets, Sprock Stars, just pushing the pace a little bit. The important thing for this chase group is just try and make sure that your front rider is doing more than the two ahead. When you're near the front, you're going to be able to see them. You can see what pace they're doing. So for our rocket here, you can see they're below 4 watts per kilo up ahead. So as long as you can maintain just above them, they're going to reel them in. There's not a huge benefit draft-wise now. And it's just going to be this long grind. See these front riders try and chase back on and get them in. See this pace is dropping a few. See Walt Flood from Dirty Bibs. Very strong rider, good sprint. But a bit on the lightweight side. It's just slowly dropping off. I wonder if he'll be able to get back on here. Needs a little push. So we turn back round right. Does, I believe, start to ease off fractionally. He wants to try and get back on beforehand for this turn, but he looks like he's very much on his limit here. Big effort. We've lost Diop from Coalition, Chidge from WMZ, Roxas on the TZP riders, and Dave Husband has said along with another TZP rider, so that's going to be frustrating for them. But they did all push very hard at the start. So you guys just kind of getting into a rhythm now. It's important to keep this front group as long as you can. There are draft benefits, and as I said, especially as we get towards the top of this climb, there is a huge amount of benefit going up and down the bumps in this front group, and I expect we will still have a front group. The riders are just slowly dropping off the back. See, Walt's just kept on. Really big effort from him, very impressive. But he ideally wants to be just a bit further up. Mentally, when you've got that gap over into kind of towards the group, it hurts. You feel like you're right on the limit, even if you know you might have a bit left, and you want to be comfortably inside that group, not just kind of trailing towards the back. See Jason from Dirt Sprock Stars just falling off a little bit. Again, so we have lost a couple of TZP rides. We do still have 3 in the front in this group, and then 2 up the road. See, the 2 up the road have really started pushing again. That gap closed down a bit, but whether that was just a bit of time they took to recover, collect themselves, get back together, now they're really pushing hard to hit a little bit of a steeper section towards the end of the village. ahead will have a right turn, then through a little tunnel, which is another flatter section. They're going to do some damage here, make sure that group doesn't think they're coming back on. And the same thing I was talking about earlier works for them. They know they just have to hold slightly above what the chase group is, and that gap is going to open up. When you're in this position, it's all about doing it gradually. Now you've got the gap ahead, you don't want to be punching repeatedly, you just want to hold just enough to stay away, just above what they're doing. You don't need to be massively pushing the pace. Interesting to see is Bad here seems to be punching up and down a lot. He's going up to about 6 watts per kilo, then falling off a little bit, whether that's changing gears or he's just struggling. It's generally a sign that he is kind of falling apart a bit. He's struggling hard, he's punching up and down, desperately trying to hold on. Normally when you're kind of comfortable, you'll be able to hold just this consistent pace, as we see Taser's just holding similar numbers the entire time. 4.4 to 4.5 watts per kilo, really consistent, which is great to see. He's doing a really good job at the front of pacing this, but his teammate behind just seems very inconsistent, like he's really struggling on his limit, but they're doing well together, taking a 15-second gap over this chase group now. Justin Fabian is leading the way, possibly trying to close the gap, but it's a tough ask here, especially knowing that those riders are probably going to be able to do more. They're lighter, they've got the advantage of being under the wattage threshold. See, this group's still all together though. I'm slightly surprised that we haven't seen too many others trying to push and close this down now. But I think those riders are aware who their opposition is. They know the riders up the road are possibly never going to come back, and so they're just fighting those riders around them. You see Lars just falling off the pace a little bit for Dirty Bibs. You see jumping back up. Maybe it's a lack of concentration or he's really suffering. But he's just managed to do enough, just getting back. And it's so important he keeps in touch over this right hand bend as it flattens out a little bit. I like to see a little bit of a punch. He is probably just about within the 5 minutes. See 4 meter gap to Yuan from WMZ. It's really important they all stick together here and use the advantage of being a big group on the flats. So you see riders from TZP really chilling off through this section. It's a bit concerning they have broken apart here. I'd like to think if they're on comms working together as a team, they'd be together, taking advantage of, the 36 kilometers now, big draft available there. But they have broken up, which makes me think that the second rider, Bad, here is really struggling. You see this chase group's pushing a little bit, but then no one's really doing any hard work. Those with a couple of rides in, especially looking at the likes of Dirt and WMZ, might have wanted to put one ride on the front just to do a lot of work there. But again, I think Dirt have they do have 5 riders here in this front group, so they might have been able to afford to kind of sacrifice one. It's a very possible kind of role here, to sacrifice one rider to push really hard through that flat section and get this group speed up. So the gap is just closing a little bit to the riders up the road. Still down 3% once we get over this little kick to begin with. And so this gap can easily close to a group. And especially when we get over that top lip and into the bumps. Looks like the riders from TZP are just kind of sitting there, not doing too much. They're concerned, they're on the limit, they're struggling a bit, not sure what's up. But whether it's just again trying to get connected again and work together. But it's interesting to see it's just slowed down a little bit, and they are letting this group catch them significantly, dropping seconds regularly. It's not like we're easing a couple of seconds over a kilometre. It's really coming down quickly here. We'll start to see what happens. They've pushed up a little bit again. See Andy Yuan from WMZ really pushing the pace now. Approaching almost 5 watts per kilo. He is one of the other stronger riders. I think he's got 4.4 for 20 minutes. So he's definitely able to kind of do these numbers, hold that gap, and now we're below 10 seconds. I'd be very concerned if I was these TZP riders now. They've done a lot of hard work, probably both holding well over 4 watts per kilo for the entire race, and so they're going to be struggling. They're going to be on their above their threshold, and if they can't get this gap, if they start to get closed down by the top, that radio tower climb is going to be really tough for them. That's one of the things with these moves. You see Bad just pushing away from his teammate, then it's very surprising to see this. They're not the TZP riders, while they made the move as a team, they don't seem to be working together that much. They seem to be almost fighting each other, regularly opening up the gap and not taking advantage of the small amount of draft that you do have. So you see Bad really pushing away and then just dropping again. It's a very strange style of riding where he keeps going up to about 5.5 watts per kilo and then down to 2, or well, he's holding it at 4 there, but regularly just dropping up and down, up and down. See, he's managed to open up the gap back to 10 seconds, but his teammate's starting to get caught again. See, Yuan again from WMZ is taking a little bit of a gap. Justin Fabian moving up to grab his wheel there. But this lead group, while it's spread out, most of the riders managed to keep together now. See, Diop from Canyon, who dropped a bit earlier. Roxas from TZP and Booth from HDR, all just falling back a bit. We've got a lot of solo riders back. Ideally, if you're in the position, you would be pushing through. See Lars just pushing on to these 2 riders up the road. You want to form this little group together. And obviously, you know, in an ideal world, you want to drop them. But while you've got a lot of flats coming up ahead, you do want to have this group and be able to take advantage of them. And especially if you're a bit of a stronger sprinter, you know, hopefully you can beat them out here. So we're just coming into this section, this covered section around side the mountain. We're really getting very close to the top of this section of the climb. There is, as I said, the little bumps before the actual banner and another kicker before the banner. But once you're out of this section, you know you've done most of the hard work here. So I imagine a lot of the people in the group are just going to be holding on now. They're not going to want to do extra work. And that's the exact time we want to see the likes of Justin Fabian and some of the lighter riders really pushing it, make these other riders work very hard. So he's pushing again. He's going to catch De Jesus, hopefully. I think 3 seconds. It's going to be a very big ask for him to stay away through there, especially when we hit the bumps. But as you see, Bad, he's just holding that gap now at 12 seconds again. It's very, very inconsistent, but it's working for him. He's doing great. So just take another look at the front group. We've got a couple of riders just struggling a bit. Looks like Tom Narbe, I believe, and R Rocket. Just off of see Tom Narbe really pushing up now. As you can say, it's unlike him to let this gap open up. TBR rides, he's a very aggressive rider in a good way. He attacks early, pushes hard, and normally does very well in these kinds of races. But this gap just keeps regularly opening up. It looks like he is struggling. He managed to punch up, but then he's fallen off again. Imagine it was one of those last-ditch efforts just to keep with the group. It's a really big effort to get all this way. I'm sure he'll be gutted because around 100 metres ahead is the flatter section. So he's pushing up again. I'm sure he knows that in his mind. If he can just keep on the group through here, he's going to be okay. He gets a rest, just got to keep pushing. Same with Rocket from WMZ. They want to close this gap to Ali. But equally, Ali here for the Spogs, as you just saw, absolutely perfect. Just pushing back into the group. He doesn't want to give them that wheel to keep back on. I know it's a bit horrid in some ways, but it's exactly what you should be doing in this competitive team riding. You don't want to give them the wheel. You don't want to be the person who lets that 5 metre gap close. You see Mike, 7 metre gap, 6 metre gap. He needs to push here, Mike, who's going to let them back on. I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. Oh, it's so close, that gap. Narbe's just dropped off a little bit early, but I think he will get on. Whereas Rocket's going to have to punch up again hard on this right-hander to guarantee it. Most of these riders have just slowed down a bit now. They've caught up on the TZP guys, and they know on these punches they're going to have a massive speed advantage over Bad up the road. As riders just regularly hit the front over and over again. See Jason Robinson just punching a bit again from the back. See the Sprocket stars one after another in this dirt kit, just regularly attacking from the back, making that group speed high. We see Bad punching up at almost 8 watts per kilo there. Absolutely bonkers after the effort he's already put in. Trying to maintain the speed over this little bump. You might see some of the riders who are struggling early start to get dropped here. Yeah, as you see with Rocket. He's doing well though. He might be able to come back, but it's a big ask. See some of his teammates, Stuart from WMZ and Yuan, dropping towards the back. I'm not sure this is intentional to try and help him stay with the group and just try and spread out, because that's the one thing you want to do. You want to just let this group gaps just open up a little bit if you've got a teammate dangling off the back. See Oyvind here really needs to kick hard, needs to push hard and get through the WMZ rider ahead, Yuan, if he wants to keep in the group. But it's very stretched out up ahead. Got lots of big gaps opening up. See Justin Fabian up the road, Arias from TZP, and see the people really starting to put the red numbers in now, trying to make sure they make this gap. I think we've got one more big downhill coming after this little kick around the corner, but everyone's there trying to close the gap now to Bad. They know it's going down, and know he's not going to be able to hold the pace of the group on the next downhill. And so if they can close it down to 4 or 5 seconds, they might be able to get in him. And once they're in there, they're going to benefit from his draft. See more riders. Strange, it's the TZP riders again, punching through to the front. You think they wouldn't want to be doing this. I know they've got a gap to a few of the riders behind. But if you're in charge of the TZP riders, being that, yes, you want to let your guy go up the road. You know, they all look strong. They look like they're going to be able to do some damage on the radio tower climb. But I don't know why they're helping, bringing him back in now. We've got now a 3-second gap over this group, so maybe it is they're just trying to form this breakaway group. But 2 seconds isn't anything. They need to be working a lot harder, and they've got 2 of the Sprock Stars with them, Justin, Fabian and Ali. So they're not helping their rider up the road. Now he's got an 11-second gap now because of it all breaking up. And he's really punching hard. But it's a very strange tactic to see from them. It looks like we've got a group of 5, followed by a group of about 7 riders. Maybe 6. You see Rocket and Narby did get dropped in the end there. So we've not got too long to go before the end of the segment. I'm going to take advantage of this downhill, get souped up, get some rest, and then punch out the bottom hard. See, here we go. Arias really going. We need Ali to be ready and reacting. One of the downsides here for Ali is because he's a heavier rider. On that downhill, he's going to hit the front, so when we hit the uphill again, he's in the draft, everyone's following him, and he gets slowed down instantly. So it's really important there that he tries to keep towards the back. He just got caught out on there while the TZP guys jump over to their teammate. You see the effect of the group there, 6-7 seconds caught up instantly on that downhill. But it looks like Bad's going to have enough to just stay away from his teammates. See the likes of Justin Fabian just holding onto the wheel of Arias, though. Really good work from him. And Ali as well, fantastic for one of the heavier riders to manage to hold on through here. And it's going to be a great result for the Sprock Stars if they can keep up there. Should be a TZP taking a lot of the points to this segment. But the Sprock Stars probably knew this going in. They knew they were up against a lot of lightweight riders there. A lot of punchy guys when the course favours them. So if they can guarantee second place in the stage, I mean, I know they'd love to get first, but second place would be a great result for them. Especially given the current standings. I think they'll be talking about that now, if they're even able to talk. See Jason Robinson, another one of the Sprock Stars, just leading. Jay Stewart from WMZ, another TZP, and a couple more of the Sprock Stars back. But that gap's going to be a bit too big to overcome as we come towards the band. You can see on the minimap on the left, top left-hand side of the minimap, top right of your screens. Let's take a little bit of a reminder of the segment points available here. So you see, it should be Bad from TZP. I'm not really sure why it has the Evo tag. He should have probably changed it beforehand. But he should comfortably be taking a first FTS and first across the line through this segment. Well done to him. Really good performance. See Justin Fabian, he's got a little bit of a gap. We see Ryder's going to start to sprint through now. Ali, absolutely perfect performance there. He's just hopefully timed it right. But we see Valenzuela from TZP. He's got a bit more kilo power. He might just come through. It's going to be important to see how far back Ali started here. So Valenzuela takes second, first across the line point. Oh, he just takes on FTS as well. It's frustrating for Ali there, but you know, it comes down to where he started in the pack. It looks like Valenzuela started right towards the pack, and he's carried on pushing, whereas Ali's dropped off a bit here. So interesting whether Valenzuela gets across to his teammate. But again, his teammate's pushing really hard. These tactics seem very strange from TZP. You'd like to think, you know, his teammate's got a big 5-second gap over the rest of the field. You'd let him back on, work together on this downhill. You know, it would work in Bad's favour, having a teammate onto this downhill before he hits it. You see the rest of the riders coming through the line. Let's take a little look back. See Mark there taking 12th. You can see Jason Robinson taking 9th. This Rockers Oyvind taking 8th. Andy UN from WMZ in 7th. Arias in 6th. And Mies, I'm not sure, I think he's a TZP rider. Yep. They're taking 5th, but we see 3 TZP riders up the road here as we hit the radio tower climb. It's going to be a very tough section. See, it's straight up the high percentages, and it's just a long grind here. See Justin Fabian now just slowing down. One thing you can be aware of here is if you know you've got a gap, and see Jason flying through there, it makes, you can see the difference it makes. Because the percentage is so steep, every watt per kilo is a massive difference in terms of speed. And see Jason there, he's now slowed down a bit because he maintained his speed from longer and had a little bit of a group coming through that banner. They've just flown up there. And that's what I was trying to say with the TZP riders earlier. If they'd gone as a pair, they'd have gained a couple of seconds instantly and then push on. If you're wanting to go for the win solo, then feel free to push on after that, but you might as well work with your teammate, because it'll help your teammate and yourself get an advantage over the group. See Jason continuing to push, but he just can't hold a candle to these lighter riders from TZP. We can just get some of the finish points and just point out the actual finish view. So I'm not sure we'll see it on the screen because it's a custom finish, but it's just as we reach the kind of monument on the right hand side on the bend. Just try and get the mini map up for you. So it's just on the right hand side of the bend, probably towards the bottom of that loop you can see now. And we've got a little bit of flats before, so if it is tight, there will be some draft available, but the key thing is you want to do the damage on this finish on the climb. If you're close, you want to punch up and give it all in on the last part of the climb, and the gap you take out should be enough to hold on to the finish even if you blow up. See some of the WMZ riders here, Andy Yuan again, Stuart pushing hard again, coming through those Sprock stars that we saw. Really good performance from them. Just sitting in their draft for the first section and going hard up. See the two TZP rides there just getting reeled in slowly. They've really dropped down now as they've clearly starting to hit their limit. They're doing about 4.5 earlier, and now they're dropping down to more closer to 4. See Andy Yuan again pushing really hard. It's a fantastic performance from him, really well timed. He will have lost some of the segment points, but as we see the top 4 places have a significant advantage, 5 points lost for each of them. Then as we get into 5th, 6th, we're just going down 1 point until we get to 10th place. And so trying to get the 1st, 2nd or 3rd place is really important. So it's going to be a real big push for him coming through here. You see Jason Robinson really attacking this part. This is the steepest section here. For those doing it in reverse, it's a great place to get your 100 kilometers an hour badge. So you're attacking at 7 watts per kilo. He's instantly made up a gap. I'm sure he'll be targeting trying to get 2nd or 3rd here now. I think Bad is comfortably away. No one's going to compete with him for that 1st place, short of an absolute disaster or another dropout. So you see it's going to be a bit of a battle between these TZP riders, Andy Yuan and Jason Robinson of Dirt. See Stuart from WMZ also holding on there. Then we've got a bit of a gap back the next TZP rider. Then Oyvind, Roxas and Justin Fabian. And De Jesus, who did really well on the main KOM section. It's just fallen back a bit now. I saw some of the riders who do really well early there just don't have any energy left for the Rage House. See Jason Robinson again kicking hard. 10.6 watts per kilo through the steepest section. It's just entering the last couple of 100 meters here. They'll be able to see it on their screens. The counter coming down. They want to do the work here. It's time to see if anyone has anything left. It's a bit too early to start your sprint. If you're going from a minute out, maybe a minute and a half out, this is where you want to start going. See Jason starting to go here now. Absolutely perfect. You can see Evo ahead, and it's just these little bursts, these little kicks just to get ahead, make his mark. I wonder if he's just testing to see if it's possible to chase him down. If Bad is going to lose motivation, drop out a bit, how quickly can he increase his speed? I think he knows that that 1st place is well and truly gone to Bad, well and truly deserved. But a fantastic ride from him. It's whether Jason can kind of make this gap stick. It's only a couple of meters back, and Yuan's just holding onto his wheel now. Because we're on these steep sections, there isn't much draft, so positioning isn't totally important. But what it does allow you is to see what's going on around you, so you don't want to drop too far. See Jason Robinson kicking again, just these little kicks just to boost his speed up. Not sure it's going to be massively beneficial, but he's just giving these little bursts, just keeping away. See TZP rider Valenzuela just dropped a little bit back. Feel like that gap may get away unless he can punch across. There we see Jason again just kicking, and he's committing. Oh, oh dear. That's not a good sign. He's had a little drop out. That's really going to hurt his speed. He's managed to get back on it, but that gap he'd taken out over Andy Yuan's totally dropped now. I wonder if something's going on with his bike with these little kicks. But it's, again, he's just got to get to the finish here. Whether something's wrong, I'm not sure. But if, yeah, I see Valenzuela knowing that something's not quite right, so he's just going to push through, really do it early, do that damage mentally. If you can see something's going on, something's odd, you want to make them hurt for it. As you see really well, I see Bad from Evo. You can see the banner's going to be level with this monument on the right hand side here. It looks like Bad from Evo is going to come through and take 1st place. Really well done. And then Andy Yuan in 2nd place. Valenzuela in 3rd. And Jason Robinson will take 4th place. Stuart from WMZ coming through, but he's Unless he has a big sprint here, he's not going to catch Jason there. And we've got a couple of TZP riders pushing through hard. Hazes, again, he's just too far back to really make it. But he's doing very well to beat out two of his teammates from Roxas and Amistoso. I love our Rocket from WMZ fighting with Oyvind for 10th place. Coming through them probably won't catch the TZP riders. We see our Rocket just kicking a little bit just to guarantee that 10th place over Oyvind. And another TZP rider. It's incredible how well they've packed this out. Absolutely fantastic performance from them. See Justin Fabian coming through most likely in 12th there. Tom Narbe from TBR down in 13th, but he's got a couple of riders just behind him. Ali from Sprockstars and Staley from WFCC working really hard together, but again not quite as high as Narbe, and they need to go now. This is the point where you've got to commit all in. It's 12%. You can do some real damage with a sprint from here. You don't want to save it for the flats, but you know, it's one thing to say. As see Staley going for it, really good, absolutely perfect from him. If you can hold this, see Narbe trying to react. He's got a bit of a gap to react, but you know, it's easy to say, oh, you need to react to this point. But when you've just done that horrific climb, it's totally different matter to actually do it. See, Staley just didn't quite have the legs to push through. He left it a little late for that second kick there. If he'd managed to kick a little bit earlier on that section, he might have been able to grab Narbe's wheel on this flats and then just slowly ease through him. But he just quite couldn't make it. But a great performance either way to push through for 14th there. See Ali from the Sprockstars coming through 15th. Diop from Coalition. Diop even from Coalition from 16th. And we've got a little group a bit further back. Lars from Dirty Bibs, A Booth from HDR. And then Mike a bit further back from Sprockstars. Yeah, and on this climb you've just got to really take advantage of the steeper section to make any kind of jump. Don't wait till you get to the top to do it. See Lars here just holding onto his wheel. He really should, if he has any energy, he needs to go now. Take advantage of the jump. Don't give them time to react. By the time they see that you've sprinted, they're going to be on the flatter section and they won't have the advantage. But it's just holding the wheel. He's going to push through now. If Booth has enough to react though, he could easily come back through, but it looks like he just doesn't have anything left, and Lars is going to come through and take 17th place. Well done to him. So then Mike's just being caught by Juggernaut from WMZ. It's painful to watch here. So you can see these riders just have nothing left. They're losing a place, but you know, you can't do anything about it. You're right on your limit. See some of the Coalition riders, two different kits. I believe it is the same team though, from Canyon. You see Leo pushing through Powell, 23rd and 24th place. As we come back, there's lots of solo riders. Mike Holden from Dirty Sprockstars, Jim Hike from WMZ Boom, Chidge from WMZ Boom as well. They're just being overtaken by McNabb from Dirty Bibs. And just got the two of them. Looks like Chidge just doesn't have anything to react, so McNabb's going to take that position. But as you come back, start to see things are getting a little bit more interesting. Got quite a lot of riders in a row. See a few more fights going on. Try and watch one of these further back. So we've got 3 of the WFCC riders all together. Wonder if that's an intentional work together to do it. But it could just be a case that's how kind of it's fallen. You know, once you're within your team at this stage, they're 7 seconds ahead of Walt from Dirty Bibs, and a couple of seconds behind, well, 14 seconds behind TBR. So they're just fighting themselves. And that's sometimes the most competitive part of it. You know your positions are safe as a team, so it's really about who's going to fight for the most points, who wants to kind of get those bragging rights. The only exception to this, but I think we've only seen one WFCC rider up the road, the only exception is because the top 4 point scorers score, if they have one of the riders here who might not score, if they have a 5th rider further back, but who got lots of points in the first KOM, then it might be sensible for one of them to purposefully come last, but it's unlikely that's going to be a situation, so it's really going to be a fight for pride here. See Pin pushing through, did a little kick of 5 watts per kilo, but not really sustaining it. Convoy's taking the lead for now, it's keeping a nice consistent pace, and Charlie Boy just easing towards the back and then reacting. Start to approach Convoy's just dropped a little bit. No one's really making a move here though. It might be a case they're just trying to work through the line. See Pin pushing now, Pin's going. See, there's no real sprint available. These riders are so tired, but he's done the work early. He's done it in the right place. That gap's opened up 8 meters. They're not in his draft, and he's going to comfortably take it there. See, between Charlie Boy and Convoy, they're both in each other's draft. A little kick from Charlie Boy would take it, but it looks like he's got nothing. Convoy's going to come through there for the 2nd place out of those 3 riders. Charlie Boy just easing off and taking 3rd. So you've got Dave Higgins here from TBR, normally a strong sprinter, followed by Dave H, husband of the Sprock Stars. And as you saw, as mentioned earlier, Higgins has a great sprint. He's just managed to push away, using the kind of last bit of the uphill to make that gap. We've got a lot more solo riders still coming through the field. Some of the Galaxy riders, good to see. Just holding on well here. So you can really see the effect this climb's had. It's very rare that you get a finish that's this stretched out. And it shows when we kind of have riders who aren't quite on their limit, you'll see lots of these little bunches forming on the climbs. So say we'll look, and it happens more on the shorter climbs, especially like the 2 to 5 minute ones. You'll see you'll have your lead bunch, and you have a second bunch and a third bunch, and people will generally be in these groups. So when you get this long, horrible grind, the gaps just open up, and there's so many solo riders, and it's a horrible position to be in. Because you're chasing the guy ahead, and then you're being chased down from behind. And you know, those places are so easy to lose. Not even 1.1, 0.2 watt per kilo over the course of the climb can, be 10-15 seconds. And so if someone can push up, half a watt per kilo on this last section, they can easily take a couple of places off you. You see a couple of riders giving a little kick towards the end, but these gaps are too big now to really make a huge difference. You need to do the work early and do it up the start of the climb if you're going to try and close them up. It's great to see people pushing and still working hard at the finish for their team, but you've got to do the work early and come early. If you don't make it, sure, but try giving it a kick. See, it's a nice little 10-second gap, but it's all in order of watts per kilo. See Grant a bit further back from Dirty Bibs, just pushing really hard through the steep section. It's absolutely bonkers the numbers we're hitting up here. It's the last thing I'd want to see, especially in real life. See a little crosswind coming through the trees, full of snow and ice. Couldn't imagine many worse places to be hitting up this after already doing a long 20-minute climb. The end of a race, being frozen. On the plus side, you can see the finish at least. It's not too far ahead, but you can equally see just how steep it is to get there. See Grant pushing up again. Let's take a little look at the road. It does seem to be these two rides 10 seconds apart. Wonder if Hartard and Lunacy is going to have anything to try and close that gap now. Really good to see. It is possible. Nice zoom out cam. The gap isn't that big. Looks probably at 30 odd meters on the road, which closes up very quickly if you can put in any kind of sprint. But it's so easy to say and so hard to do in this position. He is doing more. See Burgess then reacting. But they're both just up and down. It's normally a sign that they are fatigued. You just try and force yourself just to keep going, putting your weight down on one pedal stroke, and then you're just instantly easing off on the next as you realise you're absolutely gone, your legs have nothing left. It's really good to see them just keeping on fighting all the way through. So the gap's closed a little bit from this work from Hartard. He's doing really nice here, but again, he's probably left it just a little bit too late. If Burr has anything to react, he's going to have the room to do so, but he doesn't seem to have anything. See Hartard carrying on closing up. See Burr starting to react now, but Hartard's coming through hot. It's 13 meters on the road now. It says 4 seconds on the side, but that's not totally realistic, especially as we're about to come through onto the sometimes. See Burr then pushing up again. If Hartard has any sprint, he's got to come through now. He's got to kick now. Kicking now. Get on that wheel before you hit the flats. He's not quite managed to do it. It's 11 meters just outside the draft, and that's going to be it. Burr's going to go away once they hit the flats. Just open that gap up again. It was a really great effort from Hartard there. Just pushing on, trying to get that wheel, but they just need to go a little bit earlier. Make sure they got all the way across the gap before they hit the flats, and they have the benefit of the draft, and they'll just maintain their speed coming through them and overtake. So we just drop down the road to see how people are getting on. Got Grant from Dirty Bibs just finishing off the course. Barker from Galaxy. Powell from Canyon doing really well from Coalition. P. Williams from Galaxy, Thomas from TBR, just coming through the KO, and then we've got Holly from Canyon Coalition, again doing really well at this climb. It's very hard if something goes wrong, or, you know, you're racing in top end B category and you just don't have the fitness or the form at the moment. But it's really big credit to these riders to keep on pushing up and see the course out. It's really important, especially for their team score. If you're down, if you only have those 4 riders, or, you know, you've got points earlier, and you're still going to be on those top scoring people in your team, it's really important just keep pushing through and get to the finish. There is a cut-off time, and I think most of these riders will be comfortably underneath it. They have got to be aware of that. 135% of the leaders' time. They should all be very comfortable there. So well done to everyone, carrying on pushing towards the end. Just going to go back and take a look at the finish results, hopefully, on the screen. See those that have loaded so far. Just see, as we saw, you have Ben and Bad from TZP taking the win. Then Isra Valenzuela taking second, both doing really well. Valenzuela really closing up that gap to Ben at the end. Then we've got Jason Robinson in third. It looks like we might have one rider unfiltered. Just get on your screen view. So, yep, Andy Yuan from WMZ seems to have been taken out of the results. Not quite sure why, but he would have come in second, as you can see there. So, as we saw, I thought Jason would have been in fourth for Dirty Sprockets. Then we've got Jimmy Stewart, another WMZ rider, coming in what will be fifth, I presume. So, good result from WMZ rider there with 2 in the top 5. And then TZP just absolutely dominating. Another 5 riders total in the top 10, 6 in the top 11. WMZ with 3 in the top 10. Just Sprockets, Sprockstars even, just having 2, but they start to pack it out a bit further down. It'll be a good result to them, and they'll probably take second place to TZP this week. So really good result there. So just go a bit further down. Some more of the rides coming in. Canyon did quite well. TBR seems to be a bit spotted. We don't see Tom Narbe there. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Might just be a couple of the riders further down. But again, really good results there across the board. Some great performances on what is an absolutely brutal course. Some big numbers being pushed, and it's absolutely fantastic. From Ben up the KOM, some monstrous times again from Jason as well. Almost below 130, which is really top end Cat A level. So really good punchy sprint power from both of them there. So thanks very much for joining. We'll hopefully see you next week, where I believe we'll be following the C category. It'll be the C- category. We'll be doing the team time trial of 3 villages on Macquarie Islands. And so come join us later on today. I'll be covering the Stelvio B+, as we're following them for the entire series. It'll be a very interesting competitive field. But yeah, thanks for joining this week, and hopefully see you soon.